Michael Shenton, Shenny, born in Pontefract. Have you always been called Shenny? And can you remember who gave you that nickname? Which is, it's obvious, isn't it, really, when you think about it?
It is. It wasn't until I played rugby, actually. I played football when I was younger, and my friends from school, it's Craig Fawcett, actually. He played a little bit at Keighley, a few other clubs, and his dad was the head coach at Smallthorne, and they met him at school. And I've always been quite athletic, so he just took me down for a session with their team that he was coaching, and then they said, can't call you Michael or Mike, you need a nickname, so I think just Shenny. Just became, from there, I still remember it now, his dad, Sean Fawcett, yeah, he came up with it.
You joined Cast Tigers Academy in 2002, you were just 16. Did you play any junior rugby prior to that?
Yeah, so I played Smallthorne Panthers from like under 8s, under 9s onwards right through, then got picked up at the scholarship. Scholarships were about then, believe it or not. So a couple of years in that, had to kind of got released and had to fight for my spat bucker. I had to go back to amateur, which I played a bit at Upton then. So that's where I was brought up in Townville in Castleford. My parents then moved away when I joined high school. So then I moved schools to Minsfort from Airedale. But I still travelled to Smallthorne because I didn't join the Upton team. I didn't have a team my age. So stay at Smallthorne, it's quite a strong team, to be fair. The likes of Craig Hewby, Brett Ferris played in that team. So it was a very good team. And then once I went to scholarship, Casts weren't sure, so I went back to amateur terms so I could play, and I played Upton open age at 15, 16 years old.
That was a tester for you, wasn't it?
It made me, if I'm honest. It made me going out, having to play, and they started me on the wing. They weren't sure about me. I went to centre, then before long I was playing standoff with them. So I had about 4 or 5 months. One of the best times of my life, I reckon, playing that.
You've answered one of my later questions. Have you always been a centre? But you played all over the backs?
No, yeah, I think I've had to in my career, but full-back, mainly centre, wing. When I first started playing professional rugby, you have to come in somewhere, and it was a wing that I was needed in. But I think being able to play different positions, it teaches you a lot about your own position, really, and how good you should be and how important it is to communicate. I mean, we're jumping ahead here, but yeah, so that time at Upton, it was fantastic. Playing with men, just having to dig in, travelling places to over Lancashire, going to Hull, on trips with grown men, just the crack and the camaraderie, and then what it was to the social life after it was great. But it was actually Dean Sanson was the youth coach at the time, and he's the one that kind of went sure on me, and I played against him. He played for Stanley because he retired and then kept playing, and he's a Stanley lad. I played against him. Must have gone all right because he phoned me up that night and invited me back. So then that were it. Then I came back. I think I wanted to prove a point. To play against him, so luckily for me, it shows it's a bit of adversity can make you.
Moving on to 2004, just a couple of years later, the Academy Grand Final, you beat St Helens. Can you remember it, and can you remember any of the other players that went on to a good rugby career? Yeah,
so Dean Sanson, coach, was an incredible coach. Really, really, really good coach, very detailed. He gets fired up as well, so it was really impressive as a coach, was Dean. And then some of the players, Andy Kane was a similar age group, but he played up a bit. He was my age, but he played. He mainly played 21, so he didn't play in most of that team, the under-18s team. Craig Hewby played quite a bit. Played at Castleford, Huddersfield, very good player. Ryan Boyle played in that. So yeah, some good players played in that team. Jason Mossop was another one. He's played a lot of championship rugby as well.
Was that the year you made your debut at Wigan as a 17-year-old? How was that?
Terrifying, yeah. Graham Steadman was a coach, and he'd just been relieved of his duties. Gary Mercer took over, and he wanted to mix things up, and I think he wanted to drop a few of the players who weren't performing. So I got thrown in, I reckon. I was playing well at the time, but I was definitely out my depth at 17, physically and awareness-wise. But for the experience and the pride of making your debut for your own town team, it's something special, something very special. But then let you know how far off you need to be, really. So remember some tackles. I was playing against Brett Dallas and Chris Redlinksky was the fullback, and they were a lot I came into contact with those boys, and Andy Farrell played for Wigan, and they're quite daunting. And my debut was on Sky as well, which when you're a young player, as you become senior, it don't matter to you whether it's on telly or not, but when you're a young player, it means quite a lot to you. So I played 3 games that year. They were all. It was one at home against Wigan, away at Wigan, and away at Leeds.
Oh, they're not bad 3 introductions, are they?
So they were all on Sky and beauties. I remember coming off against Keith Senior, and I had stud marks all down my chest.
Have you still got recordings? Do we still call them recordings of those matches?
Oh, I don't know. My mum and dad might have. They have like boxing memorabilia and stuff at their house, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Relegated with Cass in 2004, but 2005 saw Cass promoted back to Super League via the National League playoff grand final. You beat Whitehaven. You beat them quite well, Shenny, didn't you? That must have been a big relief for you and all at Cass to get back into Super League.
A lot of pressure. The club made it very clear. But as soon as you get relegated, the team just dispersed. Obviously, there's a lot going on. Contracts were void at the end of it. And it was a bit of upheaval. So for me, it was bad for the club at the time, but for my personal development, it meant I was invited full time. I was basically trained pretty well, so I've played the majority of that season. I missed the bit where I fractured my eye socket, and my first game back actually after 5 or 6 weeks out was the grand final, where I played most of the year on the wing and I had to play centre in the grand final against Whitehaven. It teaches you so much. The Championships is such a tough competition with some players that could play Super League, but I think they choose not to because the circumstances, the jobs, they've got good careers elsewhere and stuff, and they can make a really good living doing both, the part-time rugby. So it is, as our boys this year are going to find out, it's a strong competition with some very good players in it. So, no, very good.
Don't know whether I dare mention relegation in 2006, but I'm going to do.
Yep.
Beaten by Trinity here in the last match of the season. Did it frustrate you that Catalan Dragons actually finished bottom, but they were exempt, and Wigan, who finished just above Trinity, had been fined heavily because of the salary cap? Were you frustrated about that, or did you just crack on with it? And
yeah, it's a little bit. I think it was made out from day one what was going to happen with Catalan, so you can't really say that. As a brand new team starting out, they wanted to expand the game. So I think as an open player, I think it's open-minded about trying to grow the sport and grow this game we all love here. But I think the Wigan one was that's a kick in the teeth, isn't it? Knowing what they did there, bringing Nobby in, Stu Fielder, and people like that, and the money they spent. Obviously knowing that the cap was getting broken, and how that was policed. Yeah, that's pretty frustrating because they were from what I remember, it's a long time ago now, but from what I remember, yeah, they were in a bit of a pickle. But at the end of the day, it came down to us winning games, and we had periods where we were very good, that team, but we were just too hot and cold. But that of getting promoted and staying up, it's just shown over the years it's so tough, so tough to do that. 2008,
Casa firmly back in Super League. Better things to come for you. You make your England debut against Wales. Again, can you remember it and who played with you?
Of course I can. That was the lead into a World Cup year, was 2008. England didn't do terrifically well, to be fair. They struggled in that first game against Australia. So, yeah. Luckily, we'd got promoted in 2007. We'd cruised that championship after 2006, but we got to promote and we took quite a few of those boys through that got promoted in 2007. I mean, Danny Brough had an absolute stormer in the final at Henley against Widnes. So we had a decent bit of positivity going into licensing to come in. No, it was a year where we'd struggled a little bit at times. But for me personally, I was getting lots of rugby where other clubs I might not have got as much opportunity and chance to play as a young centre.
And as I say, you were spotted by the international selectors and made your debut.
100%. So I got picked onto train on squad, got picked for a test match. It was a warm-up game, but it was a proper test match against Wales down in it was at Doncaster. Martin Gleeson was the captain. So yeah, that was a special day as well. Get my cap.
You were in the international scene for 7 years, but you missed out on World Cup selection, if I remember rightly. Did it disappoint you?
A little bit disappointed, but Tony Smith was the coach at the time, and he explained reasons why, and I totally get that. I wasn't ready. That's to be an international level player. That's a really high quality. And I look back now, and at the time, I think there's some points there when you're proud and you want to play. You're obviously frustrated, and it motivates you further to keep getting better. And that's what it did for me. Really, it was motivated me to be better. I mean, to represent your country as a Lion and go on tour. It's a dream of mine to go do that.
2010 was your last season at Cass for now, and you went to St Helens. It surprised many in the rugby league fraternity. How did that come about, Shenny?
I just think I was ready for a bit of a change. Some of the stuff that the people who were running the club at the time were saying about changing and competing, and sometimes you can't wait forever. And once clubs like that come knocking on your door, I think I'd have regretted it if I wouldn't have gone and give that a real good go. So no, that would have been. I just think it was a tough decision. I think the easy decision would have been to stay at Cass. I'm not saying it was the right decision, but to play with some of the players I went and played with, and the way they went about the business, the way they trained, their capacity to think about the game a little bit different, and the way they approach their training and how they treat themselves and the team unity within it. I think that's what makes clubs like that a little bit different. Is that of the training, there's no pushing them. They're all really fit. I remember the first day training with Saints, we did fitness test, and they were just nearly all of them unbelievably fit.
And that first season you went to the grand final, but you got beat, didn't you?
Yeah, it's tough fun. Cheers, mate. It's great, this. Relegations, getting beat in finals. We had a very talented team, but so were Leeds. Unbelievable, great game breakers on both. And I just think Leeds got the luck that day. We didn't. We lost myself, Paul Wellens, Gary Wheeler, all outside backs got injured during that game, and it just absolutely killed us. And we were winning up to the point when I was the last one to come off, and then we just had middles having to stay on. We had back rows going to the centre, and the Leeds just stripped us with some of the quality that they could have. And yes, I see it all the time. Is Rob Burrows.
Was that the match where he came off the bench?
Yeah, he's unbelievable. I don't know if he came off the bench or he started it. He was starting at 9, I think, at the time.
He got the Harry Sunderland trophy, didn't he?
He was unbelievable. He carved us up. His sharpness and awareness to play the game, tough as well. So, no, they were two very good teams, and I don't think there was much in that game, but I just think we just ran out of a bit of luck and ran out of bodies that day, because we were leading for lots of that game. We were winning. So
we talked about moving away from Cass. A couple of years later, you're on your way back to Castleford. Yeah. Again, how did that come about?
I just sort of really, from that, I came off in that game with dislocated elbow, and I didn't really come back and get the form that I needed to play at a club like St Helens, if I'm brutally honest. And then the change of coach was coming in, who wanted to probably rebalance all his, and what he's seeing and what he wants out of the team, and didn't massively give me a shot at it. And the opportunity came up at Castleford to come back under Ian Millward, and I was in a place where I was frustrated with my form. Maybe I should have stuck out with it, I don't know. But for me, is how it worked out after that. It was brilliant for my career and the way I think about the game. Obviously, you have special people come into your life and help you change, and going back to Cass led me to bump into, obviously, Darryl coming in, and just I was at a crossroads in my career where I'd stalled a bit. I think I'd gone like that and was playing some really good rugby, but then I got found out, was lacking a bit of confidence at the time. And then for him to grab hold of me and challenge me in different ways, to change my game and get that variety, is something I still now talk to players about as a coach. And I talked about players because I just saw it happen to myself, and it took a little bit really I've never thought about how it is to be coachable as a player. And I remember saying, I'm a coach, I'm here to coach you and help you think about your game. You need to change your game, you need to mix it up now. And he was right. And I found different ways, and through that, it grew me a bit as a leader as well. And it's always something I was interested in. And that really helped me grow as a person, a player, and a leader as well.
And you led Cass out at Wembley. That must have been a big honour for you.
Oh, 100%, because we'd gone from being the bottom of the table team in 2013 to competing in the top four and and going to a Challenge Cup final. Yeah, so it was a big swing that year.
Dream Team 2014, picked by the Rugby League media, and again in 2015 and later in 2017. But at the start of 2016, you're playing the first match of the season after all that pre-season training, and you rupture your knee ligaments. How did it happen, and were you a frustrated spectator for the rest of the season?
Yeah, 100%. I'd just come off, obviously, that you said 2014, 2015 was playing well. Was going into, I thought we were in great shape going into 2016, and it was a tough game. It was first game away at Hull KR. The rain was hammering it down, the wind was whipping off the river there. Just really tough conditions. And halfway through the first half, 22 minutes in, take a carry, beat their hooker, who was at marker, get away from him, go into two big guys, and I think because we were spotting the hooker up a little bit, he was frustrated. Most ACLs now are done if someone changed the direction, there's no one near him really. But this was a usual one. Sometimes you're going to be twisting and he's come in, and don't point a finger at him or anything, but he'd come in at my legs. It's got me in an awkward position. I felt my leg turn and twist, and I'm just gone. Just knew something.
Did you know you'd done it?
Well, part of that was cartilage, an ACL, yeah, full of rupture. So that was it. 22 minutes into 2016, done for the year. So I remember though. 2016
is a write-off.
Well, it was, but I remember Matt Crowther, who's now the physio. He was our physio at Castleford. He's a champion fella. So I spent obviously a lot of time with him, and Darryl and the coaching staff were good. Give me bits of video to do to keep me in with the boys. But one of my best friends playing, Luke Dawn, he told me then a few months after that he was going to call it a day that year. That was going to be his last year playing, and so I was more gutted about, I'm not going to get to play with him again. So, but there's a chance when you get injured so early in February, you can come back if you get time for end of August, September. So I was thinking I can get 3 or 4 games in here if I work hard, because you can get back in 6 months if you won't be quite right. But I was thinking I'll just get might have a chance of playing a couple of games with him here before he retires. I remember I got to that point where, but we couldn't make the playoffs, and Darryl had the conversation where he sat me down. He knew I'd worked so hard to get back fit, and I've been really lucky and no setbacks through it all, which is quite unusual. But got to a point where I could have played, and he sat me down. I remember pulling me in his office, and he went, "Mate, I'm not going to let you play. We can't make the playoffs. It's not worth the risk."
You made the playoffs in 2017, didn't you?
Yeah.
League Leadership Shield at Uric.
Yeah, so you look back then and you go, he made, because then I had one of my best years the year after that.
Yeah.
And
Tell us about League Leadership and another grand final.
Oh, that was just a special group, special team that it didn't really need telling twice at times, and pick things up really quickly, and you could move on through it. And I think we learnt some lessons in 2016, some real vital ones, and we finished that season really well. It was like 2013 going to 2014. We finished the season. We didn't have much to play for, but we started playing for the year after. It's create some momentum, some positivity through the group. So we had a good break, and then you came back in with a buzz. It didn't finish on a downer. So 2016 finished on a bit of an up. We chased people down. We nearly got in the playoffs, and so it created a bit of buzz and a bit of excitement what this team could go and do into 2017. Probably with some decent signings. People like Zach Hardacre came in, and then it was a group that already bonded, some good combinations, relationships. So it was quite tight. And then just played a real good brand of rugby, and were tough and dominated a lot of that season until it really mattered. And we just had some things happen to us in that last week going into a grand final that we just didn't handle very well as a team, and it rattled us. And then I just think that big game mentality, sometimes you just got to really keep it simple, is what Leeds did really well. And I think we just didn't handle the situation well at all.
Step back a little bit, semi-final, down lane, as I like to still call it. Didn't Luke Gale have a part to play in that game?
Yeah, he did a bit. He's a special player for big moments. So he's one of those that you see a lot of players will step back for those big moments. He's one of those that claps his hands and goes, "Give me that ball, I want this moment." Just before that though, a month before that, he'd had appendicitis. So we thought we'd lost him. So we had to have appendix surgery, have that removed. And then the doctor was like, "No, you got no chance. You're done for done for the season now. Managed to get himself fit for that week's training and played, and then that was an amazing game. That was Saints came ready to play. Justin Holbrook had taken over. He'd changed them because they were poor at the beginning of the year. He came in and turned them round, and they really fancied that, and you could see it. They weren't far off. It was a crazy game, that.
Sorry about this, but another Wembley appearance defeat. Is it right what they say in rugby league, that Wembley is no place for losers?
No, cheers, mate. No, amazing experience, and I'd rather have played in one and lost than never played in one, if I'm honest. So, but once again, a team that's St Helens. You look at some finals and you're like, there's two teams there, anyone can have it. That day we played the Challenge Cup final with 8% of our team had coronavirus, it turned out, and we just ran out of steam in that game. So it's another one. But that Saints team, that was through that period, that last 5 years, what they've done and what they are. They were just head and shoulders above every other team. Just really, really talented, and they just knew how to win big games, the big game players. So that would have been an hell of a win if we could have got that done, but fortunately we couldn't do it. You
then decide to hang up your books after over 400 appearances, and you get a coaching role at Hull, Academy Reserve coach with Tony Smith. I've asked you once or twice, how did that come about?
Myself really. Tony wasn't the coach then. Brett Hodgson was the coach at Hull, but I was speaking to. I've not had an agent for that back end of my career, so I was looking to transition. I've been pretty open into what kind of role it was. I've done lots of education and prepared myself for it, but I think there's a few different opportunities came up, but nothing really grabbed me. And I thought, I've always had something that's had purpose to it, and something that's going to drive me and motivate me and give me and challenge me. And I thought I was ready then. I was ready to retire, and I was ready for a new challenge. And I heard about the role at Hull FC, and I knew James Clark just from meeting him after games, who was the CEO at Hull. And I didn't really know what the role was. I just heard it was something to do in the youth around developing players and stuff. I thought, oh, right, my boat is that. I'll give it a go. So I just texted him and said, mate, am I okay to give you a call and discuss this role that you might have? And he said, oh, I think we might have someone for it, but yeah, we'll speak to you, no worries. Just went from there. We spoke on the phone. A couple of interviews later, they gave me the job of. It was head of emerging talent, so it was transitioning players through the youth system to the first team, but coaching the academy and reserves at the same time. So a link with all three teams, and then help some of the scholarship coaches also. It was a big role holistically. There's quite a lot to it, but I've always had an interest in how the youth system operates and what happens in there, and some of the challenges they face and how it can be improved and what those guys think. So as a first team player, you don't always get to see that insight on that. So I was intrigued by that, and to be fair, he's got me really into the bug of coaching and developing people and working and still working in the team environment. You can't beat it for me, for what I am. Working in this environment with a group of men that are driven and have got purpose to life, absolutely love it.
So you've answered part of my next question. Welcome to Wakefield Trinity after Hull, St Helens, Castleford on two occasions. What have you brought here, and what can you do for the club?
You can't ask me that, mate. That's putting me on the spot. You'd have to ask someone else that. Ask someone else what I've brought. I don't know. But I am really enjoying it. I think the group of the players we have, the staff that's been put together, it's fantastic to work in. It's a group of blokes that I think wanted change, wanted a different feeling, want that winning feeling. They can see the ambition of the club, can feel it. I mean, you look around this room right now, you can see things are changing. And the way they've approached this pre-season and some of the things we're asking them to do as a coaching group, for that playing group, is they're digging in. And when they're struggling, they'll be open about it, and they keep working at it, and they're getting better in each and every area we're asking them to. So for me, I look for a group that excites me to coach them, that want to be coached and want to be part of that. And I want them to have a part in some of the stuff because they're the ones that are taking the field. They're the ones that that are out there under pressure doing that, so they have to have a say in it for me. But they also have to buy into the stuff that we talk about. And it's always better if it comes from them. They're starting to grab hold of that now, and they're starting to drive each other. Really, I think they're enjoying training, which helps. And it helps us come up with good sessions as well. So, no, it's been great so far.
Shenny, thanks for coming to Trinity to bring all that vast experience. And thanks for joining Andy and myself. Good luck next week on the tour of Wales. Is it something you're going off to camp, are you?
Should be great, that. Should be fantastic.
And good luck for next season, mate, and beyond.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.